Hey, Ecom Masters, welcome to the show. My name is Mike Weiss, Chief Community Officer at Dropified, and as a thank you for tuning in to the e-commerce mastery show, we've put together a special podcast-only e-commerce training just for you. Now, in it, you're going to learn the ins and outs of how to set up your own brand of products where you can literally put your own labels, brands, logos, and messaging over top of top-selling, in-demand, high-quality, high-profit products that are exclusive to supplements, CBD, skincare, and pet products. And here's the key: no minimum order quantities, no upfront inventory costs. And I'm going to show you how to do this in literally minutes. Now, guys, we refined these principles over the course of 5 years with working with over 100,000 of our own e-compreneur customers just like you. So to get immediate 100% free access, all you got to do is go to dropified.com/podcast-special, or you can just click the link below and you're going to learn exactly how we do this in just minutes. Thank you so much for being part of the Dropified family and enjoy the show.
So, Nick, I have to ask, you have close to 100,000 people in your community of entrepreneurs that look to you for guidance. What are you doing that's different than anybody else? What are you doing that's setting you apart?
One of the main things I think actually is just being transparent with everybody. You know, that's always been, I know that's a novel concept in the online marketing world today. It's just been something for me though that I really, since starting Ecom Empires, I always wanted to be super transparent and present strategies that I know work, that I've tested, that I've done, so that other people can use them. And you know, it's been fantastic, and I still continue to do that. So people continue to use those strategies and they continue to work.
So have you always operated like that, or did you kind of fall into that or build that philosophy over time? Like, how did that really come about?
It was definitely philosophy from the start for me. I just think that's kind of who I am. I wanted to be real with people in my own perspective instead of try to create this marketing facade. But you know, I didn't really know in the beginning how it was going to grow. I just went into it with the idea of, look, I'm going to create a free course, show people exactly what I do and how I've done it, and just upload these videos for everybody to access and see what happens. And when people started to make money using it, people realized, hey, this is real, like this works. And then things just kind of took off from there.
So it seems like you had to have some sort of base level of knowledge and expertise. Like, how did you really get into it? How did you really gain that knowledge and expertise to the point where you could then pass that on to other people and really show them what works?
Yeah, I come from a military background, so we have a saying in there when you become an NCO, when you become a sergeant, and they say you have to always remain technically and tactically proficient. And that's, I think, something, it's a responsibility as a leader. So for me, you know, even before Ecom Empires, yes, there was a certain level of experience from me actually doing it. Like, I didn't just wake up one day and start Ecom Empires. I'd been practicing this. I'd been doing this already for a little while. But then in continuing to grow, like I make it my job. I make it my mission to stay connected with other great people, great companies like yourself, so that I can constantly hear what's going on, what can I test, what can I be doing, so that I can then bring that to other people as well, as the industry evolves.
So do you bring any of your, besides the one you just shared, do you bring any other philosophies from your time in the military?
Yeah, actually, I think that my time in the military has credited me a lot of what I've been able to accomplish. And you know, one of the main things that I took from there, that I think is so important in today's world, no matter what you're trying to do, is a mission first mentality. And just meaning that when you're in the army and you're deployed, well, whether you're deployed or not, but especially when you're deployed to Iraq or to any overseas place where you're there, you're on a mission, like, nothing else matters when you're on the mission. Doesn't matter if you get hurt, doesn't matter if you're thirsty, doesn't matter if you're sick. Like none of that matters. You have to accomplish the mission, or that's it. Like you're going to get left behind, or you're going to get, it's not going to be good for you. So that mentality translates very well to being an entrepreneur, because a lot of times, these days we're so soft. People are soft. Like they want to have excuses. They want to give up. They say, oh, I just can't do it, or the lack of discipline, right? But when you have that mentality, you just go after it until it happens. Because a lot of times, it didn't happen quickly for me. It took me a couple years before Ecom Empires to really build my marketing chops, to get good at what I was doing, and to actually discover drop shipping and start becoming really proficient at it.
So that's a lot of good stuff. I want to unpack some of that. I love this idea of being mission focused. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Like, I mean, with entrepreneurs, it feels like there are a lot of people that are coming from the perspective of, well, I don't even know what my mission is. So they might be a little bit detached from that. So maybe there's a foundational piece behind that you need to go into.
Yeah, well, that's a really good question. That's kind of philosophical, I guess, on what is your bigger goal, your purpose. I think that it starts, and this is just my personal opinion, but I think that it really starts with like an idea of what is it, the life that you want to achieve. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be? And then deciding what vehicle you think can get you there. Because I know that there's a lot, and I think some people tend to overwhelm, and that clouds their mission. But before you even really can say that you're on a mission, you have to know, like, what is the primary objective here? What am I trying to accomplish and get to? And then, just like any mission we would have, once we know what the objective is, we plan the route. What are we going to use to get there? What is going to be our primary mode, our vehicle to make this happen? So, and for speaking to this crowd, right? Like if you're deciding e-commerce and you're deciding drop shipping, that's something that can evolve, but the mission doesn't really change, right? Like you know what you're trying to do. I'm trying to create a brand, or I'm trying to create something larger than myself to have an impact, or, I'm trying to create financial freedom for myself, whatever it is. Like you know what that objective is, and then you're just staying focused on that and can continually making sure that whatever you're doing each day is like actually helping you get towards there.
That's powerful. And it feels like that foundational piece of really deciding like what it is that you do want is critical, because I mean, you can have the most mission focused mind, but if you don't know what that mission is, then it does not compute. Like you can't really get to a place you don't know where it is. So I think that's really powerful. Now, it would appear to me that being so mission focused is like, okay, nothing else matters. We're going to crush this. We are going to accomplish this mission. Like, how much of that actually translates into business for you? Because it would seem like there's a spectrum there.
Yeah, it's 100%. It's when it becomes like that, it becomes your life, like everything kind of revolves around the mission, around what you want to accomplish. And so, for me, like that's exactly how I approach it. So when I look at my business and I look at over time, and I think this is, there's two things. One is the clarity is really powerful, because even though sometimes it sounds simple to say, so many people lack clarity. And that's why a lot of people are not getting results, because they just lack the clarity of thinking about what do they really want and how do they really want to achieve that. But then on the other hand, also, approaching business that way and having that focus allows you to have goals. And I think this is important. It allows you to have goals, but also realize that sometimes you might fall short. Sometimes you might take a detour. Sometimes you might get knocked off the path, but then you can reorient yourself on that mission, because you're focused to get there, even if it doesn't happen in the same time frame from which you expected when you started.
That's such a good point. Actually, a couple different points there. I love that, the part about even if you get on a tangent or go on a tangent almost, you're still on the mission. Yeah, I mean, you may
Mhm.
need to adjust the mission a little bit or pivot a little bit here or recalibrate, if you will, but you're still on that mission. And what's curious to me too is the on the clarity piece is how many different irons people actually usually really do have in the fire. Like on any given day, how many things are you working on? Are you working on
Mhm.
14 different things? Are you working on 5 different things? Do you have your one sole focus that you're just going all in on and putting your time and just crushing that one thing? So I feel like there's a lot of different types of clarity, because it could be you have too many things, it could be you have nothing.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I agree with that for sure. It's for me personally, the way I've always tried to approach focus and clarity is keeping, like, really knowing what you're good at and knowing how you can make the most of that. How can you expand on what you're really good at? So if you're really good at marketing and paid ads, like for me, where I feel like I really excel is in that area of marketing and advertising, for specifically for like online products, using social media, using Facebook especially. So like for me, then how do I expand on that? Well, I do it myself, of course, for selling products, but then I can also create content around that. And then I can also promote Ecom Empires to share that content with people and build. So like, even though I'm focused on, there's Ecom Empires as a brand, and then there is stores that I run and the content that I create, it's all sort of centered around the same core operation of what I know I'm good at. And then I can fill in the other places with partners and people, partners or team of people that can help me in the areas that I know that I can't focus on because it would be too much.
It also seems like with your focus, everything is within the lens of e-commerce, marketing, selling product, and everything kind of revolves around that. And what's cool about that is it's almost like you're approaching it from both sides, because you're actually doing it. You're a practitioner. You're in there, like really actually doing those things, and you're teaching people how to do it. And what I would, and I'm curious to know, but what I would uh, be willing to bet is by working with other people and helping them, you're probably learning things too that you can then implement in your own stores. And it's probably, and also by explaining the basics and going over the different things you're doing, you're probably learning more about those things so you can do them better too.
Yeah, 100%. Teaching, I know teaching isn't everybody's thing, but definitely teaching is a way that you get really good repetition in something. And no matter what, though, surrounding yourself with a network, surrounding yourself with a community, anybody can do this. It's one of the things that, people like you and I have helped build communities so that other people can get in there and form their own mini communities. You can meet people, and it's important for sure. I know that for me, by being part of this network, being part of this community, it's made me so much better as a person, as a marketer, as an entrepreneur, because number one, it holds you accountable to like a higher standard that you're trying to achieve, because you do something good and then you're like, oh man, this person just did this. And it's like, I know there's more that I can achieve. I can push myself to a higher level. But then, too, as well, yeah, there's so many people doing so many amazing things. I never really discredit anybody. I'm always willing to listen to an idea or hear an opinion or see a new angle or an approach to something, because as long as it's within the realm of what I'm doing, those are all ways that you can grow, and you can constantly be, testing the hypothesis to make sure you have like the real formula for what you're trying to do.
When you were building out your team and you were filling in the slots of things that were not your strong point, or at least you were best at the marketing side and the content side, and so it seems like you really doubled down there, and then brought in team members to do the other things that you didn't necessarily want to do, and for good reason. I mean, that's clearly really good delegation practice. How did you go about identifying the right team members to build in your ecom business specifically, and at what point did you bring those people on?
Actually, I had a big breakthrough with this in late in 2019. I hosted a mastermind event with my friend Nate, and when we got there, it was a high level mastermind, and there was somebody there who was a business operations expert, business strategist. Like that's what she did. She focused on helping people, and she talked about this idea called the visionary and the integrator. Visionary and the integrator, and this relationship in a business between what type you are, and if you're like a pure visionary, how you need to complement yourself with an integrator, and vice versa. And we had this amazing discussion, like the round table that was there, and it was the first time my eyes were open to the fact that as a visionary, I really needed to help. I needed someone more strong on the integration side. For the first couple years, like 2016 to 19, as I was doing all of this myself, it worked, but I realized that it could work even better. It could be pushed to an even higher level if there was a stronger integration side there for like all the ideas and things. So that led me in, this is just one piece of the team, of course, but I think it's important. That led me in 2020 to partnering with somebody on that side of things, like on the operations side of things, for being able to build out a much larger system of starting and operating stores, starting scaling stores, and also allowing me to focus on the education side a lot more as well. So that's a powerful thing, and I think it's something important for anybody to consider. And it's not that you can't also be part visionary and part integrator, because I believe that we all kind of are at a high level of being an entrepreneur. But it just comes down to having that, whether it's you and a partner or it's you and a C-level executive, it's like something that allows you to start expanding, I think, by implementing that. So that was probably my biggest breakthrough that I've had in the past year on the team side of things.
That's massive, because I'm definitely more on the visionary side. And I know that when I meet somebody who's like an integrator and operator, I love them. I'm like, don't go away. Stay close, stay really close, please. But they're awesome. How did you get clarity on which one you really were? Because I'm sure you had to do both for a while, but like, how did you really maybe get clarity? Maybe it was a decision, but how did you figure out which one you were?
Well, I looked at the things that I enjoy doing and where I know that my productivity, my creativity kind of flourishes the best. So, for example, like when it comes very much down to the practical side of like building, say, a drop shipping empire, I know how to do product research. I've done it. I've done hundreds, thousands of hours of product research, and I've picked winning products before, but it's not something that I really enjoy doing. It's something that I look like is more just, it's a necessary part of the business. I love copywriting, but I don't really love building the store from scratch. So these are things like that I looked at, and I realized, okay, well, the visionary part of it is being able to say, okay, I'm going to take this brand idea and scale it using good ads and good content to $1 million in the next couple months. But the integrator side of that is like, okay, we need to get the video made, we need to find the product, we need to build the store, we need to get all this set up, and then we need to keep doing this so we can be launching multiple stores over and over and over again. So that was kind of like how I started to approach it when looking for somebody. And I didn't know that I was even really going to find somebody, but as the universe tends to do when we put the right energy out, when I started looking for that in the beginning of the year, by chance, I ended up running into somebody who then we fit together. We started to test this idea, and it's worked beautifully so far this year for both of us.
That's amazing. How did you, once you identified that person, what was the litmus test of trying to figure out like, okay, can I work with this person? How do I start working with this person, start sharing some responsibility without going too far too quickly?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because with Ecom Empires, I've had so many partnerships over the years, and unfortunately, most of them tend to fizzle. Every partnership really starts, like, I've heard it put in a really good way, and I 100% believe this. Every partnership kind of starts in that honeymoon phase. You're excited. There's this big idea. Everybody's talking like at the highest level of opportunity and expectation of what might happen. But then when it gets down to actually start putting it to the test, start integrating all of this. You know, a lot of times partnerships tend to start fizzling. Maybe one person's doing more work than the other. One person doesn't really bring enough value to complement the other person's value. So there's a lot of things that can happen. For me, what I've learned to really test it is one, there has to be a few conversations. Like I really need to, you know, like lengthy, in-depth conversations, and I need to really be able to not only understand this person on a philosophical level, like who they are, how they operate. I also need to see what they've done and what they're doing now, and then test it. Right. So like for this, again, getting practical to drop shipping, and like one of my core focuses, building a dropship empire. Together, we looked at this and said, okay, let's build a store together. So let's see if we can get this operations part meshed together with what I do. And so that was how we actually tested it first before saying, okay, let's start an LLC, let's put money into a bank account together, like all these things that people rush to do right away, that can then become such a pain later on if it doesn't work out. First, I was like, listen, let's just test this together right now at a small level to see, does this even work?
That makes a lot of sense, of almost taking the risk out of it by testing one little thing together. Maybe you go in on a project together, like just one thing where if you have to scrap it, it doesn't hurt that bad. Like it doesn't take too much time. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. So now that you have been operating your stores, building the vision for the physical side of the business, building out your community and the info side of the business, like what are the things that have been some of the biggest, we talked about a few, but what are the things that have been some of the biggest levers that you've pulled to really upgrade yourself and move yourself higher and higher up?
Yeah, one of the things, so we did already talk about it, but it's worth mentioning because it was one of the things, and that is finding the right structure to support myself and understand, like really get clarity on who I am, what I'm good at, how to remove some of my ego of wanting to be just trying to be a Jedi by myself and just do everything on my own. And it's something I think a lot of us fall into. Some people are good at, say, like automatically removing themselves. But for me, I was definitely somebody that was falling into that kind of leadership complex where I wanted to do everything. I wanted to manage it all. And so that has helped me a lot in that area by understanding that and getting clarity around that. But the other thing, and this is going to sound oversimplified, but it's just so true. The other thing has really just been ongoing dedication to doing it every week, every day. Like that's been the biggest thing, because I've had ups and down points. I've had personal challenges riddled throughout the past couple of years that have caused me to veer off the path at times. And, but like that, just having that dedication, like, I don't know that it even sounds like a lever, but for me, there wasn't really any one big moment. And I tell people this in the group, like there's really not one big, just all of a sudden breakthrough moment. Like you go from here to all of a sudden to here. I was just doing it. I was just doing it every day. Just continually doing it, continually holding myself accountable by making sure that I'm being the best version of myself, both privately and publicly, for people to learn. And I would say if there was anything external, one thing that really helped elevate the whole situation for me was getting out there and networking with people. And for me personally, the way I did that at a really strong level is I did a 2-year tour where I was just speaking at events, hosting events. But I think no matter what, for anybody, you could do that just by going to events or meeting with people locally. That really elevated my game, in the sense that not only did the networking help me learn a lot from other people, but it really put me in this constant mindset of growth. Like, how can I continue to be better? And, because it's lonely, it's hard sometimes when, for me, that's why I wanted to travel and network. Like, even though I was running this community of, at the time, I think it was like 30,000 people, and I had friends locally, like I didn't have that constant interaction with other entrepreneurs, other people chasing their dreams, other people constantly trying to push themselves to the next level. And when you get out there with that crowd, that helps you, whether a person's doing $10,000 a month, $100,000 a month, or they just got started. That energy still constantly pushes you. You're either networking with somebody who's like at the same level and you can both share ideas, or you're networking with somebody who wants to learn from you, and that makes you better because you're trying to figure out how can you teach it in the best way possible. So that was a really powerful experience as well for me, just traveling and networking with people.
There were so many powerful things there. Everybody that's watching and listening, I really hope you're taking notes and writing these things down, because this is the stuff that greatness is made from. I mean, seriously.
Hi there, Ecom Masters. Mike Weiss here again with a friendly reminder that you've unlocked access to our exclusive podcast-only training on how to create your own supplement, CBD, pet, or skincare brand in just minutes, where we're going to break down from A to Z exactly how to put your own design on top-selling products and start selling in just minutes. It's incredible. Now, the principles that you're going to learn are exactly the same principles that we've used with our customers who did over $2 billion. That's right, with a B, $2 billion in sales last year alone. You cannot afford not to take me up on this free training. So to get immediate 100% complimentary access, all you got to do is go to dropified.com/podcast-special, or you can just click the link below in the show notes. I will see you soon.
So as you're being consistent and holding yourself accountable and getting better every day, what does that actually look like for you? Like, I know I wake up, I have a routine, I know I'm going to do a certain number of things, and then it's going to end in, then I start my work day, and then I just freaking crush it because I'm juiced up on life. Like, what does it look like for you? What is that routine or that ritual?
I think it's a really subconscious process for because I see a lot of stuff out there, and I'll say right away, I'm not really one of the people that believes like you have to very, very strictly compartmentalize your life. I prefer to have a lifestyle approach to it. So I want to crush it. I want to do big things and I want to achieve big things, but at the same time, I want to do it within the respect of like the type of life that I want to live. And I think that's important. I've been on both sides of the spectrum. I think it's important for especially entrepreneurs who are just starting or growing or trying to like really, because you don't want to hit burnout, and that's a very real thing. There's a couple things really. People hitting burnout because they feel like I can't do anything else other than stare at a screen all day. It's important to read, to relax, to watch Netflix sometimes, to talk with people and just have fun sometimes, to work out, to exercise. Like, these things are all important. I wouldn't say it's part of any specific ritual, but like generally I want to wake up. You want to find your most productive time. For me, it's in the morning. So wake up, get started for the day, have your productive time, find some time to exercise in there, and then I work some more. So I'm definitely doing it every day, like ongoing and nonstop. But I'm also not denying myself, like actually enjoying life at the same time and taking a break and having some fun. And I think that's important for like not burning out too quickly. And the other thing I think is important is focusing on things that matter. Like so many people focus on things that don't matter, and they're trying to do too many things at once. And I see this with newer people all the time. I just yesterday had a conversation where somebody was asking me like, Nick, how do you get, set up a high level structure of your business so that you can be running multiple stores and be doing multiple things? And this person was still setting up their first store. I was like, look, man, all you need to worry about right now is getting sales. Like, until you're getting sales, none of this other stuff matters. I can help you with that. We can grow into that level. But like, I see this mistake on Shark Tank all the time. Entrepreneurs come on and they talk about how they're doing all these, this, and this. And the sharks are like, what are your sales? And they're like, well, actually, we're just getting started still, or, oh, we've made $10,000. Like, it's not even real yet. And you're doing all these other things. You just need to focus on the things that matter in the beginning.
Yeah, it's like, sales, what are those? If you're scratching your head wondering what sales are, that's probably your biggest thing right now to focus on. For
And
sure.
that can even be, it can even be translated though to a higher level, right? Because even if you're listening and you are getting sales and you are making money, like the focus of how do you really crush it every day while still maintaining a healthy lifestyle and still enjoying yourself and not burning out. Just know what you're focusing on. You know, like don't try to do too many things. Don't try to do too many things without actually having a solid structure to get there, having a solid roadmap. Like if you're just trying to go out and say, okay, I have this one store working. Now I'm going to go just try to launch a whole bunch of random stuff and start building funnels and start like like you try to do all these things at once. You know, it's better to focus on one thing, master it, and then move on to another. Or even better yet, focus on one thing, master it, automate it with a team or somebody who can do that, and then now focus on another thing. And you build that infrastructure underneath you, and you just keep staying really, really focused on, you know, the one thing that's going to have the one or, you know, 1 to 3 things. I'm not saying it just has to be one, but keeping it very simple to what's going to have the biggest impact on my business right now that I can be focusing on each day.
I love what you were saying about get one thing up and running, working, and automated with a team before then you move on to something else. And I would even say once you have that first thing running smoothly without you, to where you could go and venture to the North Pole or South Pole, whatever, and like it's good and it's growing without you, then figure out other things that you can bolt on top. So if
Mhm.
you're selling products, let's just say in the animal niche or whatever, and like you're selling a dog lovers or whatever, but you're selling like a leash. Okay, if you're killing it with a leash, you know they're going to need other things. You know they might need a collar,
Mhm.
or they might need those little boots for their dogs, for the people that put those on their animals, and then they might need like scarves or like other things. But then think about a level higher. Well, if they have a dog, well, maybe they want to learn more about how to care for a dog, so you could bring in other like
Mhm.
information into it. Or maybe they want like supplements for their dog. Maybe they want like doggy joint protector supplements or something. So like there's always a thing that you can bolt on top to make it better and better and better, and use what you've built as the foundation.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's I always like to think in that way too, that you should really try to maximize what you already have before moving on to something else. And I think that goes along with what you're saying, because I get a lot of people, a very common question is like, okay, my store is making say 50 grand a month or 100 grand a month even, and it's like, okay, what should I do now? Do I start another store? People ask all the time, should I start more stores? And one of the things I always ask them first is, well, do you really feel like you're maximizing what you're doing already? Okay, you're making $100,000 a month, could you be making $500,000 a month? You know, like you're saying, is there an upsell that you can add? Is there email marketing that you can bring in? Do you really like this brand? Do you see it as something you really want to grow and invest in? You know, can you be spending more on ads? Could you be branching out to other channels? Right? Like there's ways that you could maximize what you're already doing before splitting your focus into something else, right? And so that's a fantastic point. I agree with that 100%.
And I even think for some people, they may build something up and then realize, oh, I don't actually really like this that much. And then
Hmm.
it's like, okay, well, if even if you're at that point, it's still helpful to get that one thing down pat and get it automated and get a team to where you're off to the South Pole, it's growing without you. Because then you can use the profits from that to then invest in the thing that you really want to do. So it's never a bad idea to get that one thing down and really maximize that one thing. And look, if you are just to the point where you're like, I don't even want to deal with it, that's at a point where you could bring in a partner to say, hey,
Hmm.
I built this up here and I want you to take this and run with it. And you could even share the vision of like, the vision I saw, this could be here. Or, hey, you know what to do with this better than I do. Go chase your vision so that you can get other people working for you. And the key is to get your things to grow without you. And then you freeing yourself up to be able to tackle the things you really love.
Yeah, interesting what you said there. The brand that you really want to focus on or that you love. That's so true. It's I've always approached drop shipping, and I'm very transparent about this with people in my videos and stuff. Drop shipping is a cash flow business, right? It's something that you use to build the bigger brand. Now, the drop shipping business could become the brand. There's multiple examples out there of things that started as a drop shipping business and grew into a very successful brand. So it could become the brand, or it could become a different brand. You could start a software company. You could start, an education brand. There's all these different things that you could do. But like the drop shipping itself, you're right. It's something you want to automate as much as possible, because then you have a cash flow machine that can be bringing you in the funds to sit back. Life looks a lot different when you have enough money in the bank to sit back and say, what do I really want to do? What is the bigger brand that I want to build? Am I passionate about selling these dog leashes, or do I want to build something completely different?
So have you had that moment where your stuff is automated, it's rocking, and you're like, do I really want to do this? And if so, what did you then jump into, or what did you do when you had that thought?
Yes. Well, for me, I'm really passionate about the education side of things. I have a very strong, so my goal, my bigger vision right now is that I want to build a factory of stores. That's what I'm working on now that I've kind of evolved my structure and have a partner in there that's really focused on some of that stuff. Because what I like to do now is find products that can be their own one product brand, because they're simple to automate, they're simple to scale when you're focused on one product and you're building a brand around it. So I really like that, and they offer a lot of different things. Like it can grow into a brand, it could exit, it could just be automated and be bringing in a certain amount of cash every single month. So my focus, because I'm just kind of wired this way, is I don't really have one specific e-commerce product that I want to focus on. Like that's my go in on all of it. I'm more focused on building out like a structure of a bunch of these. And the bigger brand that I'm passionate about is Ecom Empires. Like I really love that part of it. I love the education. I love connecting with the entrepreneurs. I love as soon as COVID is not such a thing anymore, getting back out there, hosting events, speaking at events. Like that's my passion side of thing. That's kind of fueled by constantly doing the marketing side of things.
So what do you see as the bigger vision for Ecom Empires?
The bigger vision for Ecom Empires is to help create the ecosystem for entrepreneurs that want to be in e-commerce. It's very specifically focused, for the most part on drop shipping, but not exclusively. I want to create a platform. I want to create something that can reach millions of people around the world. The drop shipping is a huge trend, and been able to reach nearly now 100,000, but I want to just increase that reach, increase that amount of people that can come into this ecosystem to help them find success, and of course build a business out of it too. I mean, Ecom Empires is my business, so at the same time, being able to provide the resources and the training and the education and the different things that people need anyway to be successful. I look at it as win-win marketing, right? Where you're providing the training and the education that people need, and then also providing the resources and the tools and the software and like the other stuff as well that they use for the business, so you can build a business while also teaching people and having a big impact at the same time.
That's amazing. Well, Nick, I want to be very cognizant and respectful of your time. So I do want to ask you one more question, but then want to start wrapping it up here. You do a ton of speaking, a ton of teaching. You share so much, but what's something that you don't really talk about that much, and that I haven't asked you about, and I wouldn't even think to ask, but that we definitely need to know?
Wow. That's a good question. I was not prepared for that one. I would say the one thing you know what, I'll give you something that nobody really knows. That was actually a very personal situation that I went through in 2019, and I have a higher reason for sharing this, that I'll come wrap it up in. So I live abroad now in the Philippines, and I settled here in the Philippines after traveling for about 2 years. And in early 2019, I was actually arrested here in the Philippines, for something that was completely like it was. I won't go into the reason why. I mean, I didn't actually do anything wrong. It had something to do with their internet laws here, and somebody accused me of something, and I got arrested. I got thrown in a jail here in the Philippines for 3 days, and then I posted bail. But then I was standing. I was basically in a court battle for 6 months over this cyber internet law they have here, and the whole thing. The reason I bring it up is because it was really tough. Because basically, while that happened, their cyber internet law here is considered a crime, and so I was not allowed to leave the country, and I was on basically like going back and forth to court, like figuring out. And the way they do court here is crazy. It's like every 3 weeks you go and you appear before the judge, and then you go back in 3 weeks. And so it was a really rough time. And in the end, the whole thing got settled, and everything's fine now. I live here of my own free will with my girlfriend. I can travel freely and everything. But it was a really challenging time. Most people don't know that about me, and the reason that I share it is because it goes back to what I said earlier. You know, the mission first mentality, the focus. I was I was like, understandably, during that time, I mean, I was still running my business, I was managing things, but understandably, my like compass was a little bit shaky, because I had this really heavy burden that was weighing on me. Like, what's going to happen with all of this? I'm stuck here, I can't leave. Like, what's going to be the outcome of this whole deal that I'm going through? And that was challenging. That was very personally challenging for me, but I was able to, once it was all over and once it was done, like, sit down and reflect and meditate and get back on the mission very quickly, because I always knew what that mission was, right? I always had that mission first mentality, that it didn't go anywhere. Even though I might have taken a slight detour, even though I might not have been as insanely productive during those 6 months because things were rough and I had so much on my mind, I was able to very quickly center back on that mission. And 2020 now has been, my best year ever to date. Like, I've had good years, and I like to continually try to grow every year, but this year I've bounced back, and it's been my best year ever, both in the e-commerce side of things, like with my stores, and the education side of things. So I wanted to share that because it's something that I haven't really talked about. And I hope for some people out there who may be dealing with personal challenges, like, it can be motivational a little bit, or inspirational, because we can be this person in public, we can be somebody who's a leader, and we could be dealing with challenges that nobody knows. Like, your business could be fantastic, and your personal life could all of a sudden go through something that you never expected. Like, look at some of the things that happen in the world. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are, how successful you are. Like, your personal life could throw you for a loop, without even expecting it. But if you stay focused, if you have that mentality of, I know what I want, I know where I'm going, and what I'm headed for, and I'm never going to let any personal situation break me to the point that I lose that, then you'll always be able to bounce back. You'll always be able to center yourself back on the destination and keep moving.
Hell yeah. Dude, that was some of the hardest hitting podcast material maybe in the history of podcasting. That was awesome.
Awesome, man. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Dude, hell yeah. So thank you so much for sharing that, and for sharing your time, and for sharing everything. You're awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for the time. Thank you for everybody that listened to this. I really appreciate it. And yeah, man, it's been fun. It was a great conversation. You're awesome too. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. And to everybody who's watching and listening, I want to thank you. Y'all are what makes us tick. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being part of this experience, and I will see you on the next episode.
Hello again, Ecom Masters. Mike Weiss here again with a big thank you for sticking with us to the end of this episode. I know how valuable your time is, and I want to congratulate you for setting yourself apart from the pack by investing your attention into this podcast. Now, make sure to maximize this time by taking notes while it's still fresh, listening to the episode multiple times if you need to, and implementing what you have learned right away into your own business. Now, if you're looking for a little bit more training and want to learn the step-by-step methodology that you need to build the e-com business of your dreams, I want you to join me for an exclusive invite-only training that I'm only giving specifically for podcast listeners. Now, in it, we're going to share the secrets of what we've used to scale Dropified into the 2019 5,000 number 55 fastest growing company in America. You will not find this information anywhere else, guaranteed. To get immediate 100% free access, all you got to do is go to dropified.com/podcast-special, or just click the link below and in the show notes, and I will see you on the other side.